The author of this story is Sanjay Campbell. It must have been around 8 o'clock p.m. With hurried steps, Maruti Rao, who performed postmortems, started walking towards the postmortem room. His years of experience in postmortems defined his identity. Sometimes there were bodies that even the police couldn't look at. Maruti Rao would perform the postmortem on such bodies without hesitation. Whether it was a bloated body soaked in rainwater or a decayed body several days old, Maruti Rao would perform the postmortem without fear. Because of his courage, all his colleagues praised him highly. Due to this special trait, he had a good friendship with the senior doctor of the hospital, Sawan. As he walked, Maruti Rao's mind was replaying the conversation he had with Sawan last night. It was around 11 o'clock p.m. Maruti Rao was sitting on his sofa. Suddenly the phone rang. Looking at the clock, Maruti Rao picked up the phone.
Hello.
Yes, tell me, Mr. Sawan.
Maruti, there's a boy. He needs to be fired. I really don't get along with him at all. He has spoken rudely to me several times, so I've assigned him to work with you today.
What's his name?
His name is Deepak.
Well, consider this Deepak extinguished, sir. Working in the room is not child's play.
Maruti, can I ask you something?
Sawan asked in a hesitant voice.
Mr. Sawan, why the hesitation? Ask whatever you want to ask.
Maruti, you've been doing postmortems for so many years, but do you believe in ghosts and spirits?
Ghosts? So these are all made-up stories? I don't believe in such made-up stories.
Maruti Rao replied with great confidence.
Tell me, sir, when are you coming back?
I'm still in Mumbai. I'll be there by tomorrow. It's about an 8-hour journey from Mumbai. Also, Maruti, that boy Deepak has a special trait.
Special trait? What special trait?
I'm a bit busy now, but I'll be there tomorrow, so we'll talk in person.
Remembering yesterday's incident, Maruti Rao was smiling to himself.
Today, then Mr. Sawan assigned me a responsibility. The people who need to be fired, Mr. Sawan is the one who handles their duty. With me post-mortem in the room, they put, yes, meaning they leave the job themselves, so there's no need to fire them.
Walking along, Maruti Rao reached near the post-mortem room. There stood a boy about 24 to 25 years old. On the table in front, there was a corpse under a white cloth.
What's your name? Sir Deepak Noise. Deepak, during the post-mortem, Hoj. Don't go, Deepak.
Maruti Rao put on his outfit and said to Deepak,
If you're feeling scared, tell me now. Many people have fainted and fallen here.
Maruti Rao said, removing the white cloth from the corpse.
This person must be about 25 years old. The arrow is completely crushed, probably by a large stone causing bleeding.
Seeing the corpse, Deepak closed his eyes.
You got scared just by this? Only the lion is torn. In the post-mortem, all the organs of the body have to be removed. What will you do then?
Maruti Rao's words upset Deepak. He gathered courage, looked at the corpse and said,
He wasn't murdered. While going to work, his vehicle must have slipped and then his head got crushed under a heavy vehicle. That's why his face is unrecognizable.
Wow, you are very brave. You drew conclusion just by looking?
Without saying anything, Deepak stood quietly and watched. Maruti Rao picked up the surgical blade kept near the table and looking at Deepak said,
Why do you look so scared? The post-mortem is being done on this one, and why are you in pain?
Then Deepak looked at that shame seriously and said,
How might the soul feel if it were to see its own body being autopsied after death.
Hearing this from Deepak, Maruti Rao laughed and said,
Soul, ghost, and spirit, all these are just made up stories. I don't believe in any of this.
Deepak stood silently and spoke seriously.
Made up stories, excuse me, sir. But until we see, we don't believe, and whether we believe or not, it doesn't matter to them.
Seeing Deepak's unhealthy face, Maruti Rao said confidently,
Seeing our own autopsy work, even ghosts, spirits, and souls are afraid of us.
Why would they be afraid? What is there to be afraid of? What is there to fear? Wounds and pains don't affect them. Without a body, they can go anywhere.
Deepak's comment made Maruti Rao angry. He angrily looked at Deepak, picked up a surgical blade, and made an incision on the body's neck lying on the table. Seeing all this, Deepak's eyes widened in shock. The color drained from his face. Noticing Deepak's pale face, Maruti Rao inserted his hand into the body and pulled out some organs, saying,
Look at these lungs. This is the result of alcohol and cigarettes.
He gave a sideways glance. Noticing the cigarette pack sticking out of Deepak's pocket, Maruti Rao said,
Your lungs will end up the same way if you're not careful. Should we go ahead and check them too while we're at it?
Smiling, he spoke while Deepak stood silently. Maruti Rao continued to dissect the entire body bit by bit, taking samples of various organs. They perforated the skull with a hammer, as if they were opening a lid on a container. Deepak looked at the corpse emotionless, continued. Looking at his face, Maruti Rao started thinking to himself.
The boy is very fearless.
The dissected corpse placed the head back and said,
I will also do the postmortem of the second body. Today you just observe.
The postmortem corpse covered it. Then his eyes fell on another corpse covered with a white cloth nearby. Just a bit ago, the corpse was placed there. Next to the corpse, a pad had the corpse's name written on it. Reading the name, Maruti Rao's eyes widened in shock, and he looked at Deepak with fearful eyes. Deepak stood there as if fearless. Was Deepak really fearless, or was he pretending to be fearless? Maruti Rao couldn't understand. Maruti Rao picked up the pad on the table and read the information on it. When the white cloth covering the corpse was removed, and his hand slipped and fell down. The color drained from Maruti Rao's face, who had been showing confidence all this time. He quickly moved away from the table. There was a strange fear on his face. Deepak, seeing his condition, went to him and said,
Got scared?
Maruti Rao couldn't believe his own eyes. His fear-filled eyes were looking at the corpse. Deepak calmly placed his hand on his shoulder and said,
Many spirits have a different world of their own, but some people like you deny this invisible power. Your denial doesn't change their existence or this truth.
Maruti Rao was completely silent in a mental shock.
Is this a dream? No, this is real life.
His eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. Just now they turned back to look at the body that had just been autopsied. Everything was beyond Maruti Rao's imagination. Seeing Maruti Rao in this state brought a strange and unexpected smile to Deepak's face. Looking at his pale face, Deepak said,
Your face tells me that you've seen such a scene for the first time in your life.
Just then, Senior Dr. Sawant and his colleague Shinde entered while opening the door and looking at the body on the table said this.
How did it happen suddenly?
He had a heart attack in his sleep at night. He went to sleep and never woke up. By the way, people who die suddenly don't accept that their body is gone. They do all the daily tasks as usual.
Deepak's words caught both of their attention.
Oh yes, Shinde, this is Deepak. He joined duty from today, and yes, he has a special ability. He can talk to spirits.
Yes, just then, Shinde laughed and said,
So Maruti's spirit must have come to work with his body.
Ask this girl. By the way, I just want to mention that I don't really believe in all these ghost stories. Shinde,
autopsy both bodies on the table.
Just then, Deepak covered Maruti Rao's face on the table and looking towards the open window behind Sawant said,
Where did Maruti Rao have a belief in made-up stories?
Hearing this, Sawant was stunned. He looked towards the same open window where Deepak was looking. Just then, a cold breeze blew in through the window.
Subscribe for more videos and press the bell icon.